This summer, Nevada is offering an opportunity to help young people with disabilities take the first step towards their future.
Fox 5's Carla Salinas explains how this program is helping Hispanic families overcome barriers.
In Hispanic community, conversations around disability, college, and careers can feel overwhelming, especially for parents who may not speak English or no help is available. That's where Dieter's free summer camps come in, offering job training and life skills to teens and young adults with disabilities.
Latino parents, I think, see these programs as something that brings hope and opportunities for their children and for their disabled youth.
The state is hosting more than a dozen camps across Nevada. The goal is to prepare these young students for an independent future.
We really want to help the whole community to really be able to have those meaningful, successful careers that they want to have.
The camps are designed for youth ages 14 to 22 with documented disabilities, including autism, ADHD, and physical or mental conditions. And for Spanish-speaking families, language doesn't have to be a barrier.
Some of our staff actually are fluent in Spanish or are fluent in signing and sign language or different languages, but we also can hire interpreter services for anyone who needs it.
The Latin Chamber of Commerce says programs like these help youth and empower entire families.
I think that Hispanic parents are always looking to create a better future for their children. And so I think that parents that have children that face greater challenges really appreciate to hear about programs that provide hope for their children.
And the summer camps are just one part of Dieter's year-round services. While many sessions are already full, organizers say that they do offer internships and programs for those who still want to get involved. We have more information about that on our website, fox5vegas.com.